There we go. What is going on, movie meals, movie meals? Look at this. We're live in studio. I'm excited about this. Let's get some things up. But hey, this video is going on. Oh, look who it is. Of course, that's the only guy watching. But hey, movie meals. We're here to talk Rise of Skywalker no matter what. That's what I want to talk about. So if you want to talk about it, you can post in the comments. I've got it here as well on my laptop so I can see everything going on. But I want to just talk Rise of Skywalker some more. I've seen it 3 times now. Hopefully we'll see it one more time. But I got a chance to go the other day. I wanted to watch it again just on my own. I hadn't, yes, 3 essays about everything, art. I wanted to see it once by myself. I tend to want to go see the Star Wars movies just by myself, get immersed in the whole world. So yeah, if you guys wanted, hey, essays about everything, if you got something you want to talk about, you could comment in the, or put in the chat why you want to talk about it. But that's what we're here, just talk about Rise of Skywalker, and I'm excited to do that. So my thoughts on the movie, if you watched the spoiler review, have not necessarily changed overall. I think the movie's fine. I do still think it's the oh, welcome to the chat. Glad you're here, Marie. Look at that. Haha, more people. This is fun. Please go see it again. You know, viewings can change. For me, seeing it again, it did make me love the movie more than, or more or less than anything else, but it definitely, oh, force sensitive than Finn though. You know what? I'm getting out of control here. I'm gonna go to this Finn thing first. One of the things that's driving me nuts. I don't know if you guys have seen this or if it's just been me, but anybody can learn the Force, and it feels like common moviegoers forget that anybody can learn the Force. The Force. George was very adamant that the Force is like yoga. You know, anybody can do it. Or you know, it's a sport, it's football, it's anything, it's video games. Anybody can learn it, but people are naturally going to be better. People are going to want to study it more. You just have to actually study it. So this idea that it was always just that Finn, that's one of the things about Rise of Skywalker I don't like, that he has this big secret of telling Rey he's force sensitive, and they just completely not care about it in the movie, and it really isn't necessarily a giant deal in the universe. I get maybe the way JJ has it set up is that it's just Rey and Kylo, so it's a myth. It's not supposed to be talked about. I don't know, but it's a weird thing. Anybody can learn the Force, so I don't really see why it's such a big deal. It's something never addressed. But anyway, I've got a couple questions here. Yeah, so I've seen it 3 times. Reylo, I still do not like. Yes, that is what he was going to tell her. JJ came out and said that was what he was going to tell her. I've never thought somebody would yell, "I'm force sensitive," while falling into quicksand. It's a weird thing to yell, but no, he was not going to tell her that he loved her. He was going to tell her that he was force sensitive too. But Reylo is completely unearned, in my opinion. Stormtrooper Jedi would have been pretty cool. Instead, we get a really cool Stormtrooper who yells and rides horses a bunch of times, and just whines about Rey. And I really like John Boyega. I really like Finn, but he is kind of didn't really do a whole lot in the 3 movies. But but anyway, I want to address this Reylo thing. So I sent a Snapchat to a bunch of my friends yesterday talking about the Reylo thing, and if again, this is all spoilers. Get out of here if you've never seen Rise of Skywalker, or if you don't care, which I'm sure Kim in the chat does not. But the Reylo thing is unearned. It doesn't really make sense. JJ didn't ever address it. I talked about this in the spoiler review. JJ never addresses it, but Ryan kind of says that they might have more of a relation. They have a different style relationship, and but in this movie, she stabs him. I mean, I mean, we've seen John Boyega completely roasts him on Twitter. So does Oscar Isaac about Disney being afraid that they're showing off this toxic kind of relationship. I've seen interviews with Daisy Ridley where she talks about it. And it's unearned. And the Snapchat I sent to some of my friends, and including my brother who's in the chat right now, but I said, how cooler would it have been? How much more cool would it have been if Kylo had healed Rey, and Rey said, I don't know, something along, I'm not a writer, but something along the lines of, you know, you healed, Ben, you healed me. Why'd you heal me? Something like that. And Kylo just simply says, I am a Jedi like my mother before me. That would have worked so much better. We have established this. JJ tells us she was a fully trained Jedi. If you've read the Leia novel, I've got it back there. They talk about how she was a fully trained Jedi and put the saber down for politics. And then JJ says no, it was for her son. But the biggest thing is that had Kylo said, I am a Jedi now like my mother before me, it would have harkened back to the original trilogy. It would have been a really cool wink and nod. It would have not felt forced. It would have felt right. And I think that would have worked so much better for him to have said that. I think it really would have worked. It would bring a lot to Leia, because I don't necessarily love the way Leia is used in the movie. And, you know, I love Carrie Fisher to death, but I like her saying Ben and that's really what turns him. I like that, but all the other scenes are very jarring. And had he said at the end, you know, I'm a Jedi like my mother before me, I think that really would have brought a lot more to Leia as well. And I think that would have been a very cool way to do it. And then he falls and well, maybe not the Kermit the Frog fall that he has in the movie, but if he would have just then faded, that would have been so impactful for him to just say, no, I healed you because I am a Jedi, and that's what I needed to do. That is what Jedi do. That's what I had to do to make amends for all of the mistakes he had made. That would have been so cool. I was thinking about it and just lost my mind yesterday of how much cooler that would have been. But yeah, any other, let's see here. Let me look at this chat if I got a little distracted. Any more questions? Yeah, Finn being a full-fledged Jedi would have been really cool too. I didn't need it, and obviously it didn't go that way, but it definitely would have been an interesting spin. But because Ryan didn't set it up, because, I mean, JJ sets up that is an option, Ryan didn't want to make it an option, so it did kind of make sense for JJ not to then suddenly make him a giant Force user. That would have also probably felt forced for one movie when it's not really talked about in the middle movie. And again, whether you love or hate The Last Jedi, that's your thing, but that would have been interesting. Something that I just did think about that I do want to mention though is that, because this just driven me nuts for three movies. And I agree with Ben dying. It feels weird the way he dies. The kiss throws it off. I don't hate his death, but because of the kiss before, it just doesn't feel right. And I know a lot of people would have preferred him to live. I'm fine with the death. I'm really glad we didn't see him as a Force ghost. But anyway, back to the sabers. I like Leia being a Jedi a lot. One of my favorite things, if you go to the reviews of Our Last Jedi thing, is as wonky as it is to see her kind of Superman fly through space, the cool thing is that we finally got to see Leia use the Force in The Last Jedi, and that was really, really, really cool. And then we get to see her actually doing some training in this, which I don't hate that moment at all. I enjoy it enough. I just think for the way the movie is set up, it just doesn't work as well. But had Rey taken Luke's green lightsaber instead of Leia's, I think it would have worked, because we're told as an audience, hey, Rey was trained by Leia. We're told. That's it. We've only seen her be trained by Luke, but we're told for some period of time Leia trains Rey. We're told that. And it's cool, but like when you're just told this happened, the stakes kind of go away a little bit. And I would have preferred to have the saber been Luke's, had a couple other things not gone that way. I know my brother in the chat had sent me a video from a YouTuber whose name I'm forgetting. If you're still watching, Nick, why don't you put that in the name of the channel in the chat? But talking about how Rey taking, yep, boom, he just put it in there. But Rey taking the name of Organa instead of Skywalker would have been more impactful. And I don't necessarily disagree or agree with that one way or the other. I think if she had said I'm Rey Organa, that would have worked fine for me as much as Rey Skywalker did. It does make more sense because she's trained by Leia, who goes by Leia Organa. And it's the funny thing is we told when my brother brought that up to a bunch of my friends, a few of my friends were like, "That's never even said," and it's very obviously said in in all three of the new movies, and it's even in the text crawl of Rise of Skywalker. When I saw it the other day, I was like, "Oh yeah." Speaking of that, the text crawl, hate it, but also love it because I never realized that they have all of the titles of all the other movies at some point a word from there in the text crawl. Like you see Phantom, you see Empire, New Hope, things like that. That is cool. The rest of it I don't like. The Dead Speak I don't like. I do not like the way Palpatine is used. Let's see what built this from her staff. Let's see. I still don't get where she got the orange lightsaber. Yeah, so the orange lightsaber is her. She built it. And I think it's yellow. Because yellow, I believe, if I'm correct, and as much as a Star Wars fan I am, I'm very humble in the fact that I get a lot of things wrong. I get a lot of the technical stuff wrong. I get a lot of the legends wrong. But it's supposed to be an in-between, that she's balanced. It's kind of the gray Jedi idea, things on those lines. And one of the things fans, this blows my mind. I'm going on a side tangent. Everybody's giving JJ a lot of flack that he just basically wrote out a Reddit thread for this movie. That's a lot of the online discussion, that he just wrote the Reddit thread. And yet there are still things in the movie that he doesn't do. One thing people have always wanted was to see Rey put the lightsabers in her staff. She has this staff she carries around for 3 movies. Well, she doesn't really use it in Last Jedi, but she has three movies where she has a staff, and it's never, she just kind of hits people with it every now and then and switches back and forth. And yeah, it's cool seeing her have 2 weapons, but having Rey have had the green and blue lightsaber attached to her staff like the dark version of her in Rise of Skywalker, and she's able to break it apart, would have been really cool to see. I think that would have been really, really fun. I honestly thought she was gonna keep the Palpatine name. Yeah, that would have been, I guess she does fight Luke with it. Sure, that's correct. Good point out there. But I mean, it's in all 3 movies. It's never really used. It's just not. And it would have been cool to have seen that into the sabers in the end for fans to finally get that, because that would have been something interesting that none of the protagonists in any of the movies have ever done. That would have been really cool. The name saying Skywalker, it works fine for me. Had she just said, I'm just Rey, though, the more I've thought about it, the more I think I actually like that more, for her taking on the mantle of it. It really doesn't matter who you are, because I have all 3 of these movies have been told I'm Rey. I don't need to go back to Jakku. It's okay to be who I am. I'm Rey. I'm Rey. I'm Rey. Everybody, it's her. It's Rey. So she desperately needs to be somebody in all the movies, which does slow her arc a little bit, because in all 3 movies she does continue to want to know her past. And I preferred her being no one, because it was cool that the Skywalkers had somebody in Kylo going completely dark. To have somebody, an unknown, appear to fight her, I liked that idea. And her saying at the end of the movie, I'm just Rey, would have shown a lot that it really doesn't matter where you come from. But I also don't hate the idea that she takes the Skywalker name and kind of does, The Last Jedi says Luke's a legend. That Luke Skywalker is this myth. He's a legend even more than before. And so her taking that name now, I guess, enhances that there's now another Skywalker out there. And I'm okay with it. I just don't love it as much. It just kind of depends. Again, guys, if you have more questions or things in Rise of Skywalker you want to talk about, please put them down below, or I'll just keep rambling. But yeah, so seeing it a third time with the ending, I think it works. I like her new lightsaber. It would have been cool to have seen a scene of her assembling it. That's something we don't get in really any of the live action movies, which is a bummer. We have the deleted scene of Luke making his green lightsaber, but it would have been cool to really kind of get down and see a character we love make a lightsaber. I think that would have been really cool. One thing I have come to terms with Rise of Skywalker, or not come to terms with, but I've decided I wish would have happened, is you can shave off the first part of this movie if the text crawl is the opening to the speeder bike chase, which I think would have worked better, because then we've shaved off 30 minutes and now we can amplify and get more into why is Palpatine actually back? We don't get an answer. Things like that would have been cool, because there's a lot of that. Just there's a spy in the First Order, and we just need to see these people be on an adventure together, which they really aren't. I know JJ talked about so much how they're really going on an adventure, and they do for 40 minutes of a 2.5-hour movie, and for most of the time they're separated. Rey's always running off and doing her own thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Now I'm just kind of getting lost in my own thought and rambling. But I guess I'll ramble into this then. Please post your questions. Keep me on track. But one thing that just... I don't know. I've now completely lost my train of thought, Movie Meals, because I've just got too rambled up and too confused about everything that I dislike and love. Let me talk about some of the stuff I really do love. I really, I mean, seeing it for the first time with some of my best friends, with my brother, they've all been on this journey with me. A lot of them have. And seeing it for the first time impacts me a very specific way. Seeing it the second time, usually it's more the critic in me than the Star Wars fan. Yes, I did see that Janna is actually Lando's daughter. I'm glad they did not address it in the movie. I know a lot of fans have been complaining online that they should have addressed it in the movie, and the scene already feels very jarring, where she just sits down and he's like, well, that's fine. Like, and that is Lando. Lando's very, let's just do this. But I'm fine with it. I'm fine with that being something for the canon users, or the canon lovers who will dive into that stuff. I am glad it wasn't addressed in the movie, because it's just, I liked the new characters. I liked Janna and I liked Zori, but we're also introducing a lot of new characters in the final act of a movie. We're not really supposed to do that. That takes up time where we can finish and wrap these storylines up, and that was just a problem. I did like Janna. I've liked Janna and Zori both all the way through, all 3 times I've seen the film, and there are some scenes where it is a little cheesy, but I do enjoy them for what they are. But it is, why are we introducing new character, like all these new characters, another cute droid that are just kind of plot devices to get us from one point to the other, and it takes away a little bit from some of the time we could have had to develop Palpatine and why he's back. Also, Palpatine, I said this in my spoiler review, I still think it. If Palpatine's going to suck the life out of him and just go to Return of the Jedi Palpatine, they should have made him primed up 20-year-old Palpatine, a version we've never seen, the youngest version we've ever seen, whips out a red lightsaber, and they have an epic lightsaber force battle at the end. That would have been way better. We could still have the moment I love. I love the moment where everybody's talking to her. I get chills. All 3 times I've seen it, I got immense chills. It's one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. Hearing everybody say, get up. I know there's the release, the JJ cut, that an anonymous Reddit source said that there was a scene where they're all Force Ghosts and they're all in costume and they're all helping Rey in the fight. And that would have been really cool to see. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not gonna jump on as much, like, I think the Snyder cut is a very funny thing to jump onto. I don't know really about this JJ cut thing, because that doesn't change a lot of the problems I had with the movie, unless he's got other things to tell me about Like, why did Palpatine come back? That stuff I'd prefer a little bit more, as much as I'd love that Force moment, but I do love the Force moment we get. I think it's really, really great. But I've been seeing some comments fly in here, so let me read a couple here. The Lando's daughter, I did see that. Lynn Wilson just talked about that. I enjoyed the movie. Better with JJ was able to direct all 3 movies instead of letting Ryan get the one. You know, Eduardo the Bomb, love the name. And you're always, the people in this chat, the few of you that I'm talking to today, the 7 or 5, 6, 7 of you, have all been great commenters throughout the time of Movie Meals. I want to thank you guys for that, because it's been amazing and we love your support. Kyle's not here, but I know he does. But anyway, so I do agree that JJ directing all 3 would have been better. I agree with that. And there's this war going on of what should have happened, and there's a lot of things I think that should have happened that would have been better. One, the biggest thing is there should have been a roadmap. There's no roadmap. There's not an overarching story. We didn't hire one guy to write all 3 scripts. We hired 2 guys to write all 3 scripts. And I think the way it went didn't work, and I was very optimistic that it was going to work, that JJ was not going to be cynical towards Ryan, that he was going to be able to put his feelings aside, and it didn't work out that way. Chris Terrio has written an amazing script in Argo, and for some reason everything since I do not like. I know there's a lot of things where people say, is he just on broken projects, or is he the reason? But he worked on Justice League, he worked on Batman v Superman, I think it was Justice League, but Batman v Superman for sure. And I like his The Force Awakens, but I just don't love the way he writes. But this movie would have worked better if it went J.J. Ryan and they kept Colin Trevorrow. This movie would have worked better if they went J.J. Ryan. I know a lot of people freak out. No, we can't have, because so many people hate The Last Jedi, that we couldn't have had Ryan, but at least it would have flowed. I think Ryan was going to make Kylo the big bad, because I find that interesting. I want to see a Skywalker go completely dark. I've now seen 2 Skywalkers fall to the dark side and turn back. I've seen it twice. I've seen one get tempted and stay good in Luke, and I've seen Anakin and Kylo both do the same thing. It would have been really cool to have seen Kylo go full evil and seen a Skywalker completely evil, no good in him, ready to turn, and I think that would have been cool. I like the idea of bringing Palpatine back, but just give me explanation. That's my biggest problem with it, is he's just back because he's back. He looks like he's got half a torso and just floating there, and that just didn't work for me. But I like all I enjoyed, or I think Ryan or JJ, they just needed to have a better map. They needed to have either a better roadmap. They should have let Colin stay on. I get that Colin maybe would have gone even in a different direction, but I would have preferred that. I don't ever really want to cater to the fans. Well, not cater to the fans, because I like fan service. I think fan service can be bad, and I think it can be good, but it's just interesting. I just can't believe that we just didn't get development in the movie. That's really the biggest problem. We just don't really have much development. Everybody's kind of the same. Nobody really changes. The moment that could have been I am Iron Man isn't that great when she says I'm all the Jedi. And it just doesn't work as well. I love when she gets up listening to everybody, but then I'm all the Jedi and it's just hitting him with lightning, and it drains her of all her life. Works fine. It's a little anticlimactic. It doesn't build up and really bring me into it. But let me jump back into some of these comments here. Yeah, so I don't think, because JJ had an idea before doesn't mean he shouldn't have changed his ideas. He should have. He just simply should have. Instead of going into the movie being angry that you didn't get to do what you wanted to do when they probably offered JJ the job. I don't care I don't think it's been told that they originally offered him 8. I believe they did. But if you didn't want 8, then you shouldn't come back to 9 mad. You should come back to 9 saying, let me do things I can with my original ideas, but I have to get rid of some things. They say in Hollywood all the time, they call it kill your babies. You gotta put things you love aside because it's better for the story, and that didn't happen with 8. Or with 9. And I like JJ. I really like his Mission Impossible. I like Super 8 a lot. I love The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens has so many great questions and things like that, but when he tried to answer them, it just kind of fell flat. And I think it all falls on Kathleen. Kathleen made some problems. Um, and I do agree. I like Kylo. I like his redemption arc. I just have seen that with Anakin. So it worked. The scene with him and Han, as a memory, reliving that memory, I love. I think that's great. I really also would have liked to have seen a scene where he does talk to Luke, and it's a bummer we didn't get that. But I do like Kylo. I guess they don't necessarily their arcs weren't as fleshed out as much as I think they could have been and would have wanted them to have been, but for what we got, I do think for the most part they work. I mean, all the actors always bring a great A game. I mean, Daisy really blows me away with how good she is. It's just incredible. But let's get to some of these other one. IGN posted a tweet basically saying that there were deleted scenes that explain how Palpatine managed to appear in The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, but I like that, but that should be in the movie. We shouldn't have to go to the DVD extras to know why our new big bad is here. It shouldn't be the title crawl said the dead speak, there's a transmission. And that's just a big bummer. Thanks, Alex. Just saw that one. I think it'll explain how Palpatine came back in the novel. Probably. I mean, the Force Awakens novel explained how Maz Kanata is a little bit more Force sensitive, or how powerful I guess she is, and that's great too. But again, I'm a big fan. I mean, look at all this. I've got this is also mini Super Kyle, but I've got Star Wars novels. I love the canon. I'm reading Age of Resistance Reborn. I mean, right now, but it shouldn't be put in a novel. You shouldn't have information that is so important in a film to draw your audience in, to make us root for our heroes so much because they're in so much danger with Palpatine being back. And I just don't want that in a novel. I'm going to read the novel. I'm going to find out why. But I think as a movie overall, it would have worked better. Yeah, the redemptions, I agree, are pretty much the exact same. Where's the picture? JJ Ryan, balances all things should be. Thank you. Yeah, I do like Kylo's character development enough. I think it would have been still really cool to have seen him gone bad. I don't see any other questions in here. If you guys have another question or I thought you'd like me to address, please put it in the comments. But, oh, here we go. Let's see what this says here. If it'll pop up down here so I can really read it. It looked like I saw something about the Knights of Ren. Here we go, by Eduardo the Bomb. I wish the Knights of Ren were more important in the movie. Let them hold lightsabers or something like the guards in 8. Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things. JJ builds up the Knights of Ren. Ryan says they don't really matter in this story. This is about Rey and Kylo, and Finn and the rebellion. That's what the story is about. The Knights of Ren aren't very important. That's what Ryan then kind of says, that it doesn't really matter that he leads them. But I do like that he says, no, they were students that went with him. In Ryan's movie, he says, no, when all the fall happens, Kylo kills the students, but some go with him. It would have been way cooler to have seen them have been like Inquisitors. And I talked about this in the spoiler review, but if they were like an Inquisitor-type villain and they weren't necessarily Sith, but they're not necessarily bad, that would have been really cool, especially if Rey and Kylo... I mean, Kylo gets beaten by him until he gets the lightsaber. I like the little shrug of the shoulders when he does get the saber. It harkens back to Return of the Jedi with Han, and I do like that little moment. But then once second he gets a saber, he wipes these incredible guards out like it's nothing. I mean, the guards in Last Jedi put up a bigger fight. And it would have been cool to have seen... I mean, they show them off in the movie. There's literally a line in the movie where they go, the stormtroopers go, Knights of Ren, and they're like fearful of it. Why are we fearful? Because we're being told we have to be afraid, but they really don't do anything scary. They don't do anything intense. They don't do anything cool. They stand on a rock, they show up behind a rock, and then they show up behind another rock, and then Kylo kills them. Or Rey kills them. And it's just, or Rey killed the guards, but it's just not, they're supposed to be friends of his that trained under him. It's that would have been a much cooler third act, even if you're not going to bring back primed up Palpatine, which I still think would have been really cool. And I think maybe that was an idea with Matt Smith, who was rumored to be in this movie, but it just doesn't work as well. What else do we got here? We're promoted. Yeah, they really were promoted a lot, and they do just stand on a rock. That's all they do. You nailed it, Ivy Lynn. I completely agree. Yeah, they do destroy the Vader mask. One thing I did notice about that scene is he doesn't know where she is, and it takes them to break the Vader mask for him to figure it out, but she's holding the dagger the whole time that he put in his room. He put in his quarters, like the whole time, and she's not hiding it, because I remember I was watching the scene. I saw it last night again, and I was watching the scene going, well, maybe she's trying to hide it, and then she clearly is swinging it around, or swinging her saber around, and her other hand's flying in view. But the Vader mask, yeah, probably, you know, JJ made such a big deal of it in The Force Awakens, and then it's just kind of helps him track her in the new one. It was still, I think it would have been really cool if Kylo, even if Kylo didn't go all bad, to have a scene where Rey had talked to Anakin, Force Ghost Anakin, and he talked to Vader in some form. Obviously, we can't have Force Ghosts. The Sith don't become Force Ghosts, but it would have been cool to have seen something like that, where we saw scenes going back and forth with each other of them talking to the inner conflict that was within Anakin, who brought balance to the Force. The Chosen One. I mean, Anakin is still the Chosen One. I know bringing the Emperor back is saying that really it isn't, but Anakin is still the Chosen One. He's always going to be the Chosen One. Let's see what else we got here. I'm 100% sincere. I wanted the trilogy to end with Kylo Ren going as evil as possible. How was he stopped? The Force Ghost of Darth Vader shows up and literally shamed Kylo to death. The shame Kylo to death, I don't know about that one, but I do agree that Kylo going full bad would have been really, really cool. It would have been cool to see a Skywalker, somebody with Skywalker blood, go full crazy. I also wanted to see Kylo do more. He does some cool stuff in The Last Jedi, but it would have been cool to have seen him fly a little bit more. I mean, he's the son and grandson of two of the greatest pilots ever, and we don't really get that. As much we do get some cool, really cool stuff in The Last Jedi, but that would have been cool to have seen him go really bad. I always thought it would have been cool. I'm a big fan of anime, and so I think it would have really been cool if it was similar to how I won't give any spoilers away, I guess, for the 8 of you in here maybe have not seen it, for Naruto, but the way if Rey and Kylo would have ended similar to that they're so equal. I think that would have been kind of cool, if you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, that's for my brother, I guess. But what else do we got? They also, the planet they show at the beginning is Mustafar. It isn't mentioned in the movie at all. Yeah, they do that, and it looks very different. Obviously, some of the biggest channels like Star Wars Explained talked about why Mustafar does look different. And it would have been, I mean, if that's going to be Mustafar, and if that's going to be at Vader's palace, how cool would that have been? We've seen Vader's palace in Mustafar from Rogue One. If Kylo would have been taking down old guards or new people who went into the castle, and he went through Vader's castle to find the Sith way. Ugh. I just lost my mind thinking about that. He dumbed down to holocron. I like JJ. I do. I want to make that clear. I do like JJ. But if you tell the audience that thing is a holocron, the audience is not stupid. They will go, that's a holocron. A holocron is a way to find Sith information. Holocrons are introduced in the Clone Wars and then in Rebels of these items that have information about Jedi and Sith. It would have been much easier to just make it a holocron. Why are you making it a Sith wayfinder? It's dumbing it down. A wayfinder? It's dumbing it down for the audience. And a clip has been going viral of Adam Driver talking about Ryan and how Ryan doesn't dumb things down. I've seen it a couple different areas on social media where it kind of goes back and forth. It's supposed to be poking fun at JJ for dumbing it down a little bit, and I think he does in moments. I don't think he does in some moments. I think he does in some, and the Wayfinder is a problem. Let's see. We're starting to get some messages coming in a lot. I love it, guys. Loving this. I'm gonna start trying to go live more now that I've got a more stable thing. We'll get Kyle in on some calls as well for while we're live. I think that would be really fun. But let's see. I also wish they wouldn't have given Kylo his helmet back. So pointless considering how they end the movie. Apparently Disney didn't want the rights to Adam Driver's likeness for the Star Wars rides. That I didn't hear about the Disney rides thing. That's interesting if that's real. I'm not saying I don't trust you, but I've not heard that. I know my brother had pointed out to me that the fixing of the mask harkens back, and I'm gonna butcher this. He would know more. Harkens back to some old cultures. I believe it was Japanese cultures of fixing masks and things like that. Was a sign of like strength or revenge. I can't fully remember, but he told me a lot about it, and it made me really like the way the mask is. If he knows, he should throw a comment in or a link to a video that talks about it that he might know, because he tends to know some of that deeper stuff than I do. But I don't hate the fixing of the mask. I think it's really cool. I just think it's dumb that the Knights of Ren gather around to watch, and then they just stand on a rock. They just kind of watch the whole movie. I like the mask, fixing it. I like the cracks. I think it looks really cool. But if it's about the Disney rides, I don't know. I mean, Adam Driver does have his mask off for quite a bit of the movie. He tends to take it off whenever he's around Rey, and I like that it harkens back to Force Awakens and him saying, her saying you're a creature, and him kind of making sure she always remembers that he's not. I do like that. Let's see. If you're going to Mustafar, go to Castle Vader. Yeah, I completely agree, Adam. I think that's a great call. Kylo setting up shop there would have been on brand. I agree. Had he made that like his next area, his new base, that would have been cool. I feel like bringing the mask back was just JJ wanted to fix what Ryan did. And maybe, again, I don't hate the mask being brought back. If Kylo is going full dark and the mask was his idea and Snoke says, you're no Vader, and it causes him to break it with his emotions, and then he kills Snoke, and then Rey shuts the door on him and he doesn't know what to do, why not fix the mask? It was his thing, and it made him feel like he was going towards the dark, and I always liked that. I always like this idea of a Jedi being pulled towards the dark, the way they worded it, like a Jedi would get pulled towards the dark, or a Sith that's being pulled towards the light. Excuse me. I always liked that Kylo wanted to be bad and was pulled towards the light. That's why I think him staying bad would have been cool. But I do like the mask at the end. Literally everyone I saw in the movie looked at each other and said holocron when we saw it, and then we all went, oh, what? Yeah, I did the same thing. I completely agree with you. I remember being like, that's holocron. And then it's a Sith Wayfinder, and I remember going, ugh, like I groaned in the movie, because it's just not great. It's not a great. He dumbs it down. And while I'm waiting for more thoughts or comments from you guys, I will say this, because I do want to talk about more things I love in the movie, because there are moments that give me chills every single time, and it's when all the people show up. When everybody shows up to save the day, I think that moment is awesome. Oh, look at them. Now everything's rolling in right as I switch. What do we got here? JJ, who are the Knights of Ren? Yeah, what a mystery. Especially considering they, yep, I completely agree. Probably just some dudes. I completely agree with you guys. But yeah, that could you guys imagine how much more fun this movie would have been if instead of if we had opened with the speeder bike chase and eliminate some of the stuff in between, and instead of sidelining Rose goes from planet to planet, we watch her try to convince people to join the cause. That would have made them all showing up even more impactful, and it's one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. It's one of my favorite moments in Star Wars. I love it. I love when they all show up, but it would have been really cool if we got more of Rose. She's not with Finn, that would have worked, and she's convincing planets to come fight with the rebellion or the resistance because they need people, and that would have even made it even better for me. Plus then we get Rose. I liked Rose as a character. I really did. I don't love the Canto Bight sequence. I don't love the kiss. But I really like Rose. I really like Kelly Marie Tran's way she portrays Rose, and she's just, there's so many lines of dialogue where it's so clear that JJ is saying, writing out things that he didn't like with Ryan. There are times, I said this in the spoiler, but there are times he takes I think he tries to take a shot and it doesn't work. Like with Luke catching the saber, I think he wrote that being like, well, this is back at Ryan, and I don't think it comes across that way because I think Luke says, no, 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 trust me, I was wrong. Like you need, and I think Luke's always been a little quippy, and so is Anakin. Go watch the Clone Wars if you don't believe that. You know, Anakin was always quippy, and and so was Luke, and I like that. I like that they kind of handle it that way. I think it's really great. Let's see, we got some other comments coming in here. Palpatine just raised the Emperor's Palpatine, no clue why. It is, I mean, you know, Ian is always going to deliver a great performance as the Emperor, even if he's in a campy movie like the prequels or kind of the way this movie kind of handles him. I actually wish they never called him Palpatine. It takes some of the power out, only call him the Emperor. That would have been interesting. I guess since there's no Empire, you can't have an Emperor, maybe the way they went with it. I mean, his name is Sheev Palpatine. And it's just, it is weird to think Palpatine, like you're a Palpatine. It doesn't sound right compared to like Skywalker or Solo. Would that have been interesting too if Rey had said I'm Rey Solo at the end? That would have been kind of cool. That would have been a twist I don't think anyone would have thought coming if she took Han's name, because she has a great relationship with Han. Go watch Solo and then go watch Force Awakens, and you can see that Han really reacts to Rey very similarly to Beckett towards him. That they see a lot of correlation with each other, and I really love that. Let's see. I can't believe we're robbed from a scene where Rey, Finn, and Janna fighting together. I agree. And again, I like Janna, but she just another girl Finn ran off with to make sure that he's not with Rey. And he rode horses again. He did it 2 movies in a row, which is just a bummer for how great John Boyega is. Can we talk about Lando's daughter confirmation, the visual dictionary? That was just, we did talk about that earlier in the video. Somebody brought that up earlier at the start of this. And I'm glad they didn't address it in the movie. I'm okay with it being in the visual dictionary. I think it's fine. It's for the canon lovers. It's for the people who really want to know that. Even the scene they have is a little wonky, but it's fine to me. But we did talk about that more at the beginning. I would have preferred her taking the Solo name. It would have been interesting. Rey is kind of holy, and it relates. Yeah, you can just see, I guess when we were doing our rewatch before we first saw Rise of Skywalker, before it released, we just watched Solo, and then, you know, just a few days later, we're watching The Force Awakens, and I remember really seeing a lot of the same stuff. It's you know, Rey's a girl wanting to get back to Jakku, and he wanted to get back to Corellia, and it was very similar in the way they acted, and I think Han could see that in her, and I just really like that parallel. I think it was unintentional by the filmmakers, but I think it really works. And it makes me like Solo more. I think Solo's a fun little space adventure, and I did like that. No worries on being late. The video will be posted, so you can always go back and rewatch. But yeah, there are a lot of moments in this I do like. I am going to wrap up here soon-ish, so if there's a few more things you guys want to talk about, please put them down below, because I'm loving doing this. Even with its, you know, 8 of you at the most, I think I saw it hit this number. I'm fine with that, because I'm having a fun time doing it. I just love talking and communicating with the channel and just getting to talk Star Wars and get sweaty about it. I think it's the best. But yeah, there is a lot I like. I do like the moment with Luke and the moment with Han coming back, and the end fight's really cool. It can be a little climactic towards the very, very end. The shot of him shooting the lightning up is amazing. It's beautiful. I like that they dress the Holdo stuff, that it's like we need to pull a Holdo maneuver. And I like how they say that's 1 in a million. You're not going to normally get to be able to go straight through somebody in light speed. And then apparently over Endor, they kind of make fun of that it still could happen, I guess. I loved seeing, or the Forest Moon of Endor. I loved seeing the Ewoks. I thought that was really cool. I think it's fun. I think Return of the Jedi is a really fun and awesome movie, and I've always liked the Ewoks. I always got what George was going for with the kind of the Viet Cong, and I just thought I think it's fun. But I like the movie. I get that it's gonna be a lot for this generation. It's gonna be what the prequels were to me. I mean, I grew up more in the prequels. Not that I mean the original trilogy is the best and will always, but I do have a place in my heart for the prequels, and I have a place in my heart for this trilogy as well as a Star Wars fan, and there's a lot I love and there's a lot I don't. I've seen a lot of Star Wars fans online that I really love, that I watch their stuff and listen to what they say, talk about how they'll be like, yeah, I really love this movie, but there's a lot that's whack about it. And I'm alright with that. Yeah, the more videos will be coming up all the time. I guess I'll just wrap up, guys, here. Thank you, you 7 or 8 of you that came in and communicated and talked. It was really, really great. I'm going to try to bring the Weaver Wire back, which was my podcast. Not that it went anywhere, but I'm going to try to ramp that up, do that once a week, and make it live so I can communicate. We can talk all things nerd, like Marvel, Star Wars, DC, just kind of anything. I think it'd be really fun. Bring Kyle on some of those through different videos and calls, and I think that would be really cool. But yeah, I guess I'll just wrap up here. But I just wanted to talk more. I do like Rise of Skywalker overall. I think it did. I've enjoyed it when I go in now knowing what I don't like. It doesn't necessarily ruin the movie for me at all. It doesn't ruin it. I think it's a fun movie. I do think it's my number 3 of the 3 new ones, but that's okay because at the end of the day, there are moments I got chills. I'm 7 years old, and that's just the best part about Star Wars. But anyway, guys, thank you again for being here. We got to go off with the signature. Thanks for watching, Mom, as always. And I've got videos coming up, more and more. Kyle will be a part of them. So, guys, just please keep sharing us and loving us because we love doing this. I really love it. I know Kyle really loves it. And we want to be involved. We want to keep talking movies no matter what happens in our lives because that's just one of the things we love. But, yeah. So, anyway, guys, thank you. Have a great one, and we'll see you. May the Force be with you. How about that?